Let's talk about quarterbacks in these redraft leagues, whether it's 10-team, 12-team, 14-team league. I guess 10 teams a little bit different. But let's talk about for 12 and 14-team leagues. What's the strategy or approach that you should take at the quarterback position? I think there's an optimal strategy that a lot of guys believe they have. I think you and I have one, and we're pretty in agreement on it. And it's got to be Lamar and Mahomes. I have Lamar over Mahomes, but they're neck and neck. There's these top two guys. But beyond that, what's your approach typically at the quarterback position in these one QB leagues?
Here's the thing. I know draft season is kind of coming to a close, but I'm always someone who waits on the quarterback position in drafts. There's just so much value later in drafts, and you can pick up guys that are all in the same tier. I mean, think about it. You're only starting, one quarterback a week. So if you're in a 12-team league or a 14-team league, there's only 12, 14 starting quarterbacks. A lot of people don't hold them on their bench. So there's a ton of guys on waivers that are available to stream week in and week out. And honestly, the difference between the low-end quarterback ones and the next, 10, 12 quarterbacks is not a ton. Like if I'm looking at last season, Kyler Murray was the quarterback 12 with 18.6 fantasy points per game. And there were 14 other quarterbacks behind Kyler Murray that were in 3 points per game of him. So no, I mean, Kyler is definitely better than those guys because he's giving you more points on a week in and week out basis. But there's 14 other guys that are only 1, 2, 3 points per week below where Kyler Murray is, and it's like that's not going to move the needle for you. So to me, there are a couple guys that set themselves apart. There's Lamar and Mahomes at the top. If you want to take them early in the draft, if you get them in the second round, back of the second, early third in a 12-team league, I'm not going to fault you for that pick because they are pretty consistent guys that you can, they're as safe as it gets, and barring injury, they're going to be the absolute anchor of your team. And they're pretty bust-proof at this point in their career. Lamar with his rushing ability and Mahomes because we've seen it for 2 years straight now. But for me, I normally like to wait just because there are so many guys I can get later. And to that point, Steph, I know you're a big proponent of streaming as well, but you can always look at waivers. Listen to us during the season. Shameless plug. We do starts of the week. We do deep shots of the week. We're going to be throwing out these names at the quarterback position. You can pick up and plug in. Last year we streamed Derek Carr and Ryan Tannehill and Ryan Fitzpatrick, Daniel Jones. This is some massive weeks. And this spells it out perfectly because last season, week 16, championship week, if you're in a good fantasy football league, is week 16. These were the top 3 quarterbacks on the week. Number 1 was Daniel Jones. Number 2 was Andy Dalton, and number 3 was Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ew.
So you could have literally rolled out Andy Dalton in your championship, and you had an advantage over someone with Patrick Mahomes. So at the quarterback spot, there's just so much value based on matchup. Dalton and Fitzpatrick, I believe, were actually playing against each other that week. So a Dolphins or a Bengals defense is not something you're scared of. So it was probably very, very predictable. So that's it for me. Like there's so much value you can get later. Why waste an early pick on a quarterback when you can find one later on and you can use those stud picks on those running backs and wide receivers? So that's my strategy. Steph, I imagine you agree with me here. We've talked about this before. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, the thing I like to know going into every draft, and it's something that it's not going to be set in stone every time, but it's kind of knowing when, a certain tier of wide receivers and running backs are on the board, and tight ends, I should say, of when you set that rule for yourself, make that line in the sand to say, okay, if Deshaun Watson is here past this pick, if he falls to where I think he's a value, then I'll pick him up. And so that's getting deep into the nuances of the game. But like 9 times out of 10, if you just wait to the end, you can scoop guys up. And my approach really, if I can't get one of these, Lamar, Mahomes, Dak, even the Russell, Kyler, Deshaun tier, then I just wait all the way to the end, either get a Matt Stafford, even an Aaron Rodgers. I love Cam Newton this year as an upside shot. To me, there's really 3 upside shot guys that I'm looking for at every draft if I can't get one of those studs. And you name the first one, it's Cam Newton. The other one's Joe Burrow. And the other one would be, it's gross. Don't hate me here. But honestly, man, like if you are literally just scraping the bottom of the barrel, I don't mind Tyrod Taylor. I don't mind Derek Carr. I don't mind Ryan Tannehill.
Derek Carr is slept on. I don't know why everyone hates Derek Carr. He's not bad.
He's not. He's extremely efficient. And this year they're putting yak monsters all around him. I think that offense is going to get better. So, yes, that's kind of the approach. Either you get a stud early or you wait all the way to the end. Don't be sacrificing a second-round pick that could be Austin Eckler to get Lamar Jackson when you could literally get Matt Ryan 7 rounds later, 5
Right.
rounds later, right? So that's kind of the approach that you want here, and they're so streamable. I would rather stream a quarterback more than I would stream a tight end. So if it comes to, look, should I take Mahomes or Lamar, or should I take Kelsey or Kittle? I'm always leaning more towards the tight end side. Now, granted, I do think
Yeah.
there's ranges where they're going to fall. So that's more for every fantasy player in their own minds to know, hey, what point in the draft are these guys going to be values for me?
And Steph, we can think about it like this. I mean, you mentioned, would you rather have Eckler in the second round or use that pick on Lamar or Mahomes? And Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes are the fun picks. But think about it this way. Would you rather have Austin Eckler and Matt Ryan on your team, or Lamar Jackson and Tony Pollard? I would take Eckler and Matt Ryan because they're both going to be solid contributing starters for my team. Eckler has the potential to be, a top 5 guy at running back. We saw it last season. Or with the Lamar pick, yeah, you're getting that stud at quarterback, but the fall off at the running back position is just much, much, much bigger than it is at the quarterback spot. So I know a lot of people have drafted, but just know, like, going into the season, if you have a quarterback, one of these middling quarterbacks, like it could have been Baker last year, and you draft Baker, he's not doing it for you, be willing to cut him or to pick someone else up and start him over Baker Mayfield, because you can project on a week-to-week basis based on the numbers, based on the player, based on the matchup, who's going to have a big week. And no, it doesn't always hit, but most of the time you can do a pretty good job of streaming the quarterback position, and you're going to be just fine.
And the last mic drop for this case is 2019 Jameis Winston.
Let's go.
2019 Jameis Winston.
Yes, 30-30, baby. But he was a great fantasy quarterback.